Good morning, everybody. Buddy Webb here in Midland, Texas. I am in the room where I was ambushed and shot, the scene of the crime, and I want to talk about this room this morning. It's my utility room. My washer and dryer is in here, and there's a small cabinet here. That's the back door that goes into the garage, and this room is only like, and I got a stick here that's 4 foot long. This stick's important because it's shorter than what my shotgun is, and I'm going to show you something in a minute. But I want to show you, there's the wall right here, okay? And there's the other wall right here, okay? So that's how little that wall is. I can't touch it, but almost. And pretty much the same thing here. We go to right here, and we go to right here. Okay, so 4, 8, 9 foot. So that's about 8, by 9 foot or something. And then of course you got the water here in this behind this door right here. Okay, tiny room. When I was married, a couple months before I was married, me and the ex-wife were in the utility room here, and she says something real odd. She says, "What's different about this room?" Now, why would you say that, right? The reason is because something was different about the room, and she knew the answer to it. Okay, and so I go around and I go, well, here half of the texture on the ceiling is gone. When I first moved in, this half over here, you can tell where the texture is missing. So that like somebody took out the ceiling right here is what it looked like, because the texture was gone. I sprayed it with, that spray on texture, and I painted it or whatever. And I showed her, well, the tiles, they don't go under the trim like they're supposed to. They never finished the tile work. It was not done right when they laid the tile, that I missed it. That wasn't the answer. The answer is that this cabinet right here was a hidden entrance into my home, okay? And I'm going to show you a picture in a minute. That cabinet, and that's a new one, but the one that was in there, like I said, I have a picture of it. When I first moved in, the door was missing on it, okay? The kickboard on the bottom was missing on it. Shelves are missing on it. It was never put back together. Parts are gone, but of course, I would, you move into a house, it is as is. You don't know why it's like that. You sure don't think that underneath it is a hidden trap door that goes down 25 foot to $1 million underground facilities where they're having oil show parties and they're murdering little girls. Who would think that, right? I didn't think that, of course, but that was the correct answer, and that's why she asked me that question. What's different about this room right here, and that was the answer right there. Talk about the night that I'm shot. Burglar alarm's going off, recorded on that voice recorder, and which was stolen because I was at the emergency room, and I'm telling Detective Rodriguez, who turned out to be the lifelong friend of the ex-wife that's alleged to be involved in this murder attempt. But I'm telling her, I said I have proofs at the house. There's a voice recorder recording the burglar alarms going off. Well, see, they're saying I shot myself on accident. Okay. Well, burglar alarms wouldn't be going off if I shot myself by accident. That says that I was shot during a home invasion. Okay, and that's what I was saying. I had burglar alarms going off over and over and over. I had been reporting burglaries for over a year. By that time, I'd already called the police, the Texas Rangers, the FBI, and so this had been going on a long time. Now I found out that the guy that lived here before me died a couple weeks before I bought this home. He was saying people were breaking in this house, and so anyways, here I've got my gun, my shotgun, which is this long. That's kind of important. And I'm coming through the house. I'm trying to clear the house. Burglar alarm's going off in the attic. Okay, and so I get here to the back door, and this has been replaced back door. But I had special locks on here because they're trying to secure the place. People breaking your house are dangerous, and we found that out. They're killers, is what they are. And so I had to set the gun down to unlock this door because I had different locks on there. And anyway, I'm not sure where I set it. I'm probably here on the washer and dryer is probably where I set the gun. And otherwise it was set over here behind me, leaned against the wall or whatever. But anyway, I go over here and I'm going to unlock the door, and I get right here and I fall to the ground. I didn't know what happened, because they were under this cabinet, and that's where the shot went through my ankle. Boom. And instinctively I jumped back up. Okay. And I fell right back down because my ankles broke, And I look and here's the blood, And so then I decided to call for help. I have my cordless phone in my pocket. The reason I normally don't go carry around a big old cordless phone in my pocket. The reason I had my cordless phone is because my cell phone disappeared a couple hours earlier that day. I couldn't find it anywhere. I looked all over the place where that cell phone disappeared, and then I had burglar alarms going off in the attic. And so I had that cordless on me, fully charged, by the way, because it sat on the charger all the time. That's important because Rosa Rodriguez made up a lie on the police report and said that I told her the battery was down on my cordless phone. No, it wasn't down. It was charged all that sets on the charger. The only reason I had my cordless in the first place is because my cell phone was stolen, And then there's a picture of her, what looks like leaned over my nightstand, where I found my stolen cell phone had been planted, was behind that nightstand. And it looks like, I believe that Rosa Rodriguez and April Chandler planted that stolen cell phone so they know who stole my cell phone before I was shot by surprise. Anyway, I tried to call for help. There's no dial tone. They tried to kill me. I don't have no cell phone. And the cordless phone, the home phone's disconnected. That's why I crawled out. I had no other choice. And so, that's what's caught on video. And then I get back home here, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And how in the world did all this happen? One thing I did was, I removed this cabinet right here. Okay, and see. I think the biggest thing was direction of shot. That was an important thing. I hired a private investigator. Sarah Billingsley was my attorney. She's a judge now, and she recommended her private investigator. Okay, and I asked him to tell me direction of shot. That's what I wanted to know. And because I knew when I shot, I was walking to the back door. Okay, I wanted to know if I shot from the front, which meant it comes from under the cabinet, or if I shot from the back. Because see, I assumed because I didn't see the shooter, I was shot with my own gun. Because I didn't see a shooter. I knew burglar alarms going off, but I didn't expect to be somebody under my home shooting me. And so I thought I was shot in the back. And I remember even telling my neighbor one time, and he was the first guy that says, "You're shot by accident," real smart ass, And and obviously he knows, and he knew the lie that was going to be going on and all that, And I told him at the time I shot in the back. Okay, because I thought I was shot in the back. I was wrong. I wasn't shot in the back. I was shot in the front of my foot. But that's so important because once I'm shot in the front, I knew where the gun was loaded. Okay, and you see that's ballistics right here. If you know the direction of shot, then you know where the gun was located. Okay, and so here, that means this: if I was shot with a shotgun, right, would have had to be sticking out here in the middle of the whole hallway, right? I would have tripped over the gun. And I mean, you'd have to stuff the gun underneath the cabinet. It's ridiculous. Once I found out that I was shot from the front, there was no way I shot with my shotgun. And that was before I proved that the size of pellets are 2.5 sizes different, that there's a large amount of plastic. Lisa Rogers says I shot with a 45, a dozen secret plates caught on camera. It took 6 years to get identified, and the proof that we faked x-rays and all that. Forget all that. There wasn't enough physical room for me to be shot with a shotgun. But I'm seeing pellets in the x-rays, And so now where we're at is I think I was shot with a 45 handgun, like Lisa Rogers told me I was. It was loaded with a special bullet, plastic tip pellet filled bullet. The reason I think that is because the surgeon said he removed a large amount of plastic in the wound, and them were plastic tip bullets. Some people go, "Oh yeah, well, the shotgun shell has some plastic wadding in it." But the ER doctor, my brother-in-law I didn't know about, removed the wadding before surgery. Okay, so I have a record of that. Another interesting thing that the ER doctor said, who, like I said, was my brother-in-law, on there, he says a through and through gunshot wound that appears to look like a shotgun blast. Okay, it was interesting wording because I was shot with a 45 handgun loaded with a special pellet-filled bullet to make it appear that I was shot with a shotgun. And then Rosa Rodriguez, the friend, was going to rule my murder an accident, and then they're going to collect the extra $500,000 on the accidental death policy. And my life insurance booklets were taken less than a month before by the ex-wife. Just last week, the former boyfriend of the ex-wife, Arthur Welch, he tags me on a Facebook post and says that he overheard the ex-wife planning my murder to steal the life insurance with corrupt police. And these police are caught lying on police reports, are caught tampering with evidence. I mean, yeah, I believe him. Of course, I believe him. And she did take the life insurance booklets. And then brings them back right before, a week before I'm shot. A lot of people think, why'd she bring them back? So she wouldn't have them when my murderers ruled an accident. She wouldn't have physical possession of them. The other thing I want to say is I pulled that cabinet out when I got back, okay? And I found a cap underneath that cabinet. And Kansas City Chiefs. Well, here in Midland, Texas, this is Dallas Cowboys country, okay? And so there's some Chiefs fans around, but not a lot of them, and so that's a big clue. It probably has DNA on the inside of it, but we can't find a police officer that's legitimate. I can't so far. I know we have them, I just can't find one. That's been my problem. And so this cap was under that cabinet, okay? Well, I also found concrete there. Obviously, concrete was poured while I was in the hospital. I think that happened between the 2 police visits because I was never supposed to find out about the first one when they were planting a cell phone and staging the crime scene. And I believe during that time is when they pulled this cabinet out and they covered up the hole, they poured concrete, put it all back, and then I was in the hospital 10 days. They covered all that up because this was a premeditated capital murder attempt. Okay? Whoever did that left his cap. Okay, because that's what told me the cap was left after the fact, because I found the cap under this cabinet. Well, I posted about this on Facebook. The sister of the previous homeowner, Susan McGaina, Mike Laharn's sister, she called me and she had seen this cap and she offers up. She just tells me that they got a brother here in Midland named Brian Tennis, and he's a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. I didn't ask that. I wouldn't have known that. Susan McGaina, the sister of Mike Lahan, wants me to know that the sister or the brother of Mike Lahan, the previous homeowner, died 2 weeks before I moved in this home, that was reporting burglaries in the home too, has a brother who's a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. So the question is, did Brian Tennis have some connection with the cover-up, with the underground facilities, the crimes, the murders, etc., And then the other thing is this stalker in 2017 was sending me emails, and I have copies of them, and I forward them on to the sheriff and chief police, etc. I was hoping they'd trace them because he said in there, he mentions that he's a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. Well, that's a huge clue. And then he also says that he learned how to fake X-rays when after the war in the 70s, okay, which is obviously the Vietnam War. And so, here's an email that you can go take the address and you can go back and put that onto a person, right? And obviously that person that, that's sending me these weird emails about saying that they know how to fake X-rays and that they're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. That's how come I forwarded it to law enforcement, because I want to trace it. But then, of course, within the last few months, I secretly recorded Sheriff candidate Joe Lozano saying Sheriff Painter used to hang out in the underground facilities here. And that might explain how come I sent Painter 27 fact-filled emails and I never got a reply back, And part of the reason the crimes have continued against me, and the reason the crimes have continued and the police have allowed them crimes to continue, even with all this overabundance of evidence, is because they're trying to terrorize me out of home. And why they want to terrorize me out of my home, it's so it's going to cover up, this home is rigged with the underground access, and and it's going to be connected back to multiple murders, soul show parties, and all that. And and so that's the plan is let's terrorize. But the murder failed, so now let's terrorize Buddy into moving out of his home. So I want to go back in there, and I want to show you the pictures of this cabinet. All right, I found an older picture, and this is what the room looked like. Around the time that I was shot. And so you can see, as I said, the door, here is not the same door. It had been replaced. And what I was showing is the cabinet that the door was missing and the kickboard's missing on the bottom of it. And so it's the same style of cabinet that I replaced it with. But, when I pulled that cabinet out. And so the cabinet that when I bought the house was, you know, missing parts. It's missing the door, missing the kickboard, missing the shelf, never put together right. And now, you know, I'm 100% sure that it was the hidden entrance and the trap door. The ex-wife had already told me there was a trap door in this house. I believe this is where 2 weeks before I'm shot, Matt Hyman, it's suspected landman attorney, died in my hallway, electrocuted, and his friends let him die there. I believe they come in this entrance. I believe that Dickie, Davis, Chatwell, Angel, and Hell, after I was shot, they were inside my home, but they wasn't seen arriving on the security cameras. I believe they came in this entrance right there. That was the entrance from where I was shot. Right there was that cabinet. And here is a side view of that cabinet. And I'll show you now. This picture was taken after I shot, and I put this little piece of board up there, but it wasn't there when I shot. All that was open when I shot, but the door's missing, the kickboard's missing. And what I was showing here was I measured the distance below there, and I was measuring the entrance and exit wounds on my foot because I knew it come in here, entered there, and I was measuring it there, and that's where I'm going. I was shot. Somebody under the cabinet shot me, you know, and so. These pictures were taken right after, in 2012, right after I was shot, you know. And then I want to show you here, this here, you know, there's that Kansas City Chiefs cap. And Brian Tennis contacted me, the brother of Mike Lawhon, and I'm explaining to him, and I'm telling him what Susan, the sister, had told me, and, you know, he tells me Susan doesn't know what she's talking about. And then he goes on to tell me my brother choked his ex-wife with a rifle and then had to be talked down by me. So that told me, for whatever reason, Brian Tennis told me that there was a confrontation between him and Mike Lawhon before Mike died, you know, and there's the proof of that, you know, and I think that's important, and that Susan made it a point to tell me that Brian Tennis was a big Kansas City Chiefs fan, and obviously the Kansas City Chiefs cap was left after the concrete was poured and the hole was filled up. This is the email that I was telling you about, September 5th, 2017 at 10:02 p.m. See, a law enforcement officer can take that address, Mark P. Jones, and they can trace that back to a person, and they can find out who sent me this email, okay? And because obviously it's important, because this guy is saying he learned how to fake x-rays after the war. You know, well, I have, you know, absolute proof my x-rays were fake. That seems important, right? And then he mentions he's a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Okay, and you can see how important that is. But I can't get law enforcement. I can't trace the email, you know. But law enforcement could. But, you know, I forwarded this email over to Sheriff Painter when he was alive. And so, anyway, I wanted to show you the room. Last story right here, and this has been thrown in my face many times. Dirty cop Rosa Rodriguez, the lifelong friend of the ex-wife, you know, she writes in the narrative, and she testifies in court that there was a tripwire connected to my shotgun. Okay, and if I remember, if I go back into the police reports, I believe she added that in like 6 months later, you know. Out of a dozen police here, right? And that was all hiding from the camera. You know, it took me 6 years to get them identified, whatever. But only person that says anything about a tripwire is Rosa Rodriguez out of a dozen police. And that includes CSI Marty Barrett, that stated he picked up my shotgun from my house that night. He didn't say anything about a tripwire. And you know why? Because there wasn't no tripwire, and I wasn't shot with my gun. Rosa Rodriguez flat out lied, you know. So out of a dozen police, the only one that knows anything, said anything about a tripwire was Rosa Rodriguez, and there ain't no tripwire in evidence, you know. It's 100% absolute fact. Rosa Rodriguez lied to cover up this premeditated murder, capital attempted murder. But anyway, Midland, Texas.